Welcome back, guys. This is 8 to Go with Timothy Hammond.
And I'm Jonathan Woodward. We got a great show for you today. Before we get started with stage 1, I took to the Monster Mile for a hot lap in the number 9 Napa Chevrolet. Here's how it went.
White flag, Lydia. Nice job, Tyler. You're the boss.
So that hot lap was done well before Chase took the checkered flag today at Dover. We didn't do it afterwards. John did it, I think, what was it, Wednesday?
Yeah.
John predicted the future because Chase Elliott wins at Dover today.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited because that puts him into the next round. We're going into Talladega. We're going into Kansas, and he puts that behind
Locked
him.
in. My championship picks are looking good so far.
Yep, it is. Tim picked the 9 car to win the championship. I picked Kyle Busch. We'll go over our picks. We'll check on the rest of our picks a little bit later on in the show. But takes from today's race, it looked like Harvick was gonna walk away with it.
You know, watching segment 1, they had just started to go pit, and Harvick had lapped the field. Harvick was just dominating the entire race, you know. And segment 2, Harvick again was just dominating the race. But time and time again, Dover always comes through with penalties.
It always does, and we saw that. A lot of speeding penalties today. Let me switch back over to this camera and say a lot of speeding penalties. Okay, 3, 2, 1. A lot of speeding penalties today. We saw a lot of playoff guys get caught under that radar gun like we always see, and it becomes such a problem because track position really was an important deal at Dover today.
And, you know, you and I have sim raced for a long time. Green flag pit stops at that track is probably one of the hard. You got to get slowed down going into 3 and 4 and get down off that banking. And you got to be down to, I think it's 45 at Dover.
I think it's 45. Let's check real quick.
But even if it's 55, you're going from about 160 down to that in no time. And, you know, some guys try to rush it, and it just doesn't work out in their favor. And Chase actually had an early penalty. His tire went outside of the pit box, and he had to do a drive-through. So for Chase to come back from that was phenomenal in itself, you know.
Got to make a correction. The pit road speed
55.
limit is 35.
35.
So that makes it even more difficult.
Wow.
35 miles an hour these guys had to get off. Stage 1 out of the 14 stages, or is it stages or is it segments in pit road?
Segments.
Stage 1 out of the 14 segments in pit road was the number 1 segment that everyone got caught speeding on.
So they were speeding getting in. Wow, okay. I mean, that makes sense. It's, you know, and sometimes pit stops can either make or break your race. Just ask Harvick. You know, unfortunately, but Harvick is in a comfortable position points-wise. So this really didn't hurt him. You know, I don't think he has anything to worry about. But this is huge for that number 19. huge because they were not towards the top of those top 12. They had to do something, and they did it. They pulled it off.
The 9 car was hovering in and out of the final transfer spot, the 8th spot to go to the next round for most of the day. And because of all the issues that some of the other playoff guys had with the speeding penalties, getting caught up in late wrecks, like we saw in the restart, Almirola and Keselowski got into a big wreck. It also got caught up was the 88 Alex Bowman. Martin Truex, last year's champion, also got a piece of that.
But he's been in a pretty comfortable position as well. But Keselowski is a big name to be questionable at this point. You know, that's him getting that late wreck. First off, he's probably really frustrated. But we're going to 2 tracks that he's pretty good at. So I'm not too concerned with Keselowski at this point.
Now, he's going to, likewise, Talladega in the fall. I always see Brad Keselowski or Joey Logano winning there. We'll go into our predictions later on in the show.
John, a lot of news this week. You know, this is silly season started, I feel like, early this year, but NASCAR introduced us to the 2019 Aero package.
And it's going to kind of look like a Gen 7 car. We already saw a little bit of it at this year's All-Star race. I got a couple notes that I took this week, and I'm going to look at them right now. 2019 Aero package is going to feature a tapered spacer, which kind of works like a restrictor plate does, where it reduces the flow of air throughout the engine. So it's going to reduce the horsepower from 750 down to 550. They're going to be running the big spoiler like we saw this year's All-Star race. They're also going to be running a smaller radiator pan, 2-inch overhanging splitter, and the aero ducts similar to what we saw at this year's All-Star race. The only tracks that are not going to be running the aero ducts are going to be Homestead, Darlington, and Atlanta for now. So basically we're going to be seeing tighter racing.
So why do you think they did that for Atlanta? Because I feel like Atlanta is one of our fastest tracks, next to Texas, Michigan. You know, I feel like Atlanta would have benefited from that.
I guess it's one of those deals. I think Atlanta is going to be the first race after Daytona. Yeah, on the schedule, it's the first race after Daytona, where we'll see the actual package, because the 2019 Daytona 500 will not be running this Gen 6 style car. They'll be running the traditional package we saw this year. So Atlanta's going to be the first race after Daytona where I think they're not going to run it at Atlanta.
Well, I guess now that I think about it, it makes sense because people are already working on their Daytona 500 cars. So why wouldn't you be working on your Atlanta car next? So those cars are probably already, the engines are made, they're already testing those. So it just makes sense for them to hold off till Vegas for us to get a real look at this package.
It's going to be interesting. Absolutely an interesting deal. Big move here by NASCAR. They're trying to tighten up the racing, make it a little bit more exciting for the fans. It's a big move, and I think from hearing some of the drivers, I know Kyle Larson mentioned on his Twitter page earlier this week some good things about a test that went on at ISM Raceway. So good things being heard from the drivers. I saw also on Twitter Jeff Gordon, Chase Elliott, Dale Earnhardt Jr. A lot of guys are excited about seeing what's going to happen.
Well, I'm excited because both of us agree that the sport needs to go somewhere. I think the last time we were really excited for something was the Car Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That stuff was fun. Those spoilers were amazing, and it brought some great racing. The cars were looser, somewhat closer together, and they, for safety reasons, cars were getting off the ground, so they kind of get away from that and go back to the other spoiler that we had seen the previous year. But this new package, I'm excited. I want to see close racing at Vegas, California, Pocono. I've really started to like Pocono. Mm-hmm. The cars have been pretty well close together, and the racing's been incredible.
Yeah. So with the tapered spacer being introduced, we're going to no longer see restrictor plates, starting with the Spring Talladega race. First time since 1987, they will not be running restrictor plates.
Neither of us were born.
At Talladega and Daytona. So, but the thing is it's this tapered spacer is still going to act like a restrictor plate, so we're still going to see similar race speeds that we're used to seeing this year. But we don't know what's going to happen with the draft.
Yeah. Well, have they even tested at a super speedway yet?
I'm not sure if they have yet, or if there was a closed test or an open test or anything.
There's a lot of information they don't release to us, and I mean, we didn't even know they were going to bring out this new package until last week. I started seeing rumors of it. I didn't expect to hear anything until close to Homestead, but then boom, this week they dropped it on us.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted in the coming weeks as soon as we get more information on how the draft's going to look with this. Yeah, because I'm still not sure if they've tested it on Daytona or Talladega yet.
I'm excited.
Tim, do you have any updates on Casey Kane for us?
So unfortunately, Casey Kane is still out. He had extreme heat exhaustion from what we've heard from the Darlington race. Now, personally, I think there's more to it because usually back in the 90s, early 2000s, I'm going to go back to Darlington when Ricky Rudd and it was not Ricky Rudd, it was Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch for that win. Ricky Craven actually got out of the car and had blisters from the heat from that race.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to take him to the hospital right after he had just won the race. He's going to the hospital. But those drivers are coming back the next week. So that's why I think there's more to this story. And they're just trying to protect the privacy of Casey Kane, unfortunately.
I mean, to be honest, I've been to that race several times. It is a hot time of year in South Carolina.
And even at night, it's still hot.
Even at night. And it's such an enduring race because you're inches away from the wall all the time, having to be in complete control of the car. You don't have the room like you have at other mile-and-a-half tracks to really have a little bit of give and take.
Right. And, inside these cars, I've watched videos where Junior has told us that they'll lose 10 to 15 pounds a race just because it's so hot.
Yeah.
It is so hot in these cars. And, the reason why, and a lot of people ask me, why don't they have AC in these cars? The AC would take power from the engine in these cars. So therefore, they cannot give them AC. And it would just take away horsepower that they need to compete.
Well, our thoughts are with Casey Kane. We hope for a speedy recovery, and
I hope that we get to see him race one more time.
I really hope so too.
Because this is it for Casey.
This is his final year in full time for the Monster Energy Cup Series. So, hope to see you back, Casey. All right, so this leads in. We still got a little bit of silly season updates we spoke of last week. Kurt Busch is probably going to go to the 1 car. We're still leaning on that. We know what we know is Newman will be in the 6 car. Martin Truex Jr. will be in the 19 car. Hemrick will be in the 31 car. And we're either going to see Daniel Suarez or Christopher Bell go to Stewart-Haas Racing and take that 41. And then I think the other news we had this week was the 47 car. Previously, AJ Allmendinger's car is now going to be Ryan Preece from the Xfinity Series getting the call to action in the Cup Series.
It's, I was listening to, in the race, they were talking about that today, actually. It's funny when I hear these teams say that they exhausted all options with these drivers, but then a new guy comes in and just totally takes that team to a new level. Like, we look at the 78. Before Kurt Busch, Furniture Row was just almost like a qualified drive a couple laps in park. And they turned into a championship team.
Started with, I think, Kenny Wallace or somebody started the 78
it was
car.
crazy. And Kurt Busch brought the knowledge that he had from all his years. And then Truex just took it to another level. And that's what they needed. They needed new, fresh drivers that have, it's like having a quarterback for the team. How can he drive that car? Get him out there and let him see what he can do.
The only other notes I had on for silly season is a possible sponsor for the 48 car. We've heard now that Blue Cross Blue Shield might be the leading candidate to sponsor Jimmy Johnson. They've sponsored him a few times in the past, at least on the rear quarter panels a few times. So Blue Cross Blue Shield could be on the primary for the 48 next year.
Okay. going to be a much different look than Lowe's. Almost the same color, though.
Yep. All right, we've reached stage 3 where we're going to check in on how our championship picks are looking after today's race at Dover. Of course, Chase Elliott took the win today, so he's sitting in first place, sitting pretty right now in first place.
Really pretty.
Tim picked the 4, the 9, the 12, and the 78. Currently, Chase Elliott, first place in points. Second place is Kevin Harvick. Ryan Blaney is in 8th. He's 10 points to the good right now.
Hanging on to the good. That's okay.
10 points to the good, hanging on to that final spot in the round of 8. And then the 78, Martin Truex, with all those points that he accumulated throughout the year, he's sitting 4th right now. He's 36 points to the good. And looking over at my picks for the championship 4, I got the 2 of Brad Keselowski's currently sitting 7th in points, 21 points to the good. I have the 9, Chase Elliott, currently leading after today's win. 18 of Kyle Busch. Had a little bit of struggle today. I thought he was going to do a little bit better, but he's still got a lot of playoff points. He's 63 points to the good, sitting in 3rd place. And then, of course, I also have Martin Truex, last year's champion, sitting in 4th place. So all of our picks are still in the round.
Still in it. Blaney's barely there, but what's the points for the guys that are out?
Looking on the out right now, 9th place is Eric Almirola. He's 10 points out of the 8th place cutoff. Clint Boyer sitting in 10th, also 10 points out.
Oh.
So they're sitting...
Could we have a 3-way tie again?
It's looking like that could happen again. Kyle Larson's 12 points out in 11th, and then 12th place we've got Alex Bowman, 34 points out. Not looking good for the 88.
See, I expected more out of Larson today at Dover, but unfortunately, qualifying got rained out, and that I think that really hurt his chances because he had the fastest car in practice. He was flying, but when you get those cars back in the field, sometimes it's just hard to get through.
It always seems to be different on race day.
Yep. So our Talladega predictions. I think we should call this segment Talladega Nights. Just every time I think about it, what do I do with my hands? Anyways, I'm going with bad Brad Keselowski because Keselowski is desperate to make sure, but he is in. I mean, he has really good points to stay in, but he's gonna need that win. If he gets wrecked out at Talladega, Kansas is gonna be difficult for him. The Fords run very well at restrictor plates as of lately. It used to be a Chevrolet thing, but Fords have come through, and Toyotas. It's a dead shot as anybody's race.
Yeah, I want to see Chase Elliott win again, but I'm going to go with his teammate. Also, still in the playoffs, hanging on, but he's bringing up the rear right now. I'm going with 88, Alex Bowman. I think he gets his first win. And he gets it with help from the teammates. We're going to see the teammates work together to try and get Alex Bowman into the next round of the playoffs.
I like that pick. I really do because, these young guys for Hendrick Motorsports have been stepping up to the plate and making it happen.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens at Talladega, also known as the Lotto race.
It really is the Lotto race because, I thought the Roval was going to be the Lotto race, but Talladega, it's just so... And it's in October, the spookiest month we have. Anything is possible. We've seen cars go into the fence on the final lap for the win. Keselowski has been... He's always at the end. He's there, And I'm just really excited to see another super speedway.
All right, we'll see what happens next week. You guys can watch it on NBC. Well, that's all the time we have for on this episode of 8 to Go. How do you like this new setup?
I don't know which one I'm supposed to look at. Are they all put? Can y'all see me?
We got camera 1 here. We got camera 2 there. We got camera 3 back there.
We don't have 8 cameras. We need 8 cameras. But I'm excited how this show's going. I want to thank everybody who's watched, given us feedback. You guys are awesome. We hope you continue to watch. If you have footage, send it in. You have some opinions, send it in. We'll talk about it. Have questions, ask us. We'll talk about it as well.
We're always improving the set, and look for a little surprise next week. Oh,
surprise next week! I forgot about that. I'm really excited for next week, and I hope you guys will be as well.
All right, see you later.